Welcome to the Soulful Expression Podcast. I'm your host, Marjorie, and I'm an intuitive coach, energy alchemist, medium, and channel, supporting you in discovering and developing your soul gifts. On this show, we talk anything energy alchemy, quantum healing, energetics, and intuition. How it's all connected to our passions, our soul's essence, and its unique expression. If you're interested in conversations about soul-aligned, heart-centered, and consciousness-expanding living, and in receiving practical tips on personal development, manifestation, soul growth, owning your magic, and so much more, this podcast is for you. Get ready to unlock your unique, magical, soulful expression. Hello! Now, before we start with the actual episode, I just wanted to hop in here real quick and share some announcements, which I haven't been able to communicate in the actual episode because Patty and I were laughing so hard about me not being able to bring out the words and actually talk about the announcements. You'll probably hear it in the end where our voices change. Just know that was us cracking up. Now, I've recorded this part separately, and I'm able now to talk a little bit more calmly. Yeah, so let's get straight to it. Announcement number 1. I am so excited to share with you that I'm bringing monthly in-person workshops to life. The name of the workshop is Soul Alignment, and it's intended to bring people together who live in Brussels, who are interested in soul work, energy work, healing, cosmic alignment, personal development, spirituality, and all that good stuff. I found a cute studio right between where I live and where my kids' school is, so it's super practical, and it's a place that feels so serene and sacred. It's bright and calming and just a beautiful, soulful spot. Now, the very first workshop is taking place on Saturday, October 21st, so by the time you listen to this episode, it's already done. But. You can always join the next Soul Alignment Workshop, which is taking place on Saturday, November 25th. So that will be the next date where you can join the workshop. So absolutely in time and perfect for Sagittarius season. You can join through the link in the show notes, and you can also DM me on Instagram at soulfulexpressioneu or email me at hello@soulfulexpression.eu. Announcement number 2. The Antohai Quantum Training starts on the 9th of November. The training is 16 weeks and encompasses levels 1 and 2. So if you've been wanting to take your healing to the next level and master energy work on a quantum and multidimensional level, Antohai Quantum Reiki is for you. Or even if you're just beginning to navigate your healing journey, right? Quantum Reiki is a perfect tool to help you heal deep-rooted trauma, long-lived and immediate triggers, and unprocessed and repressed emotions, but also how all of these connect to either mental and physical imbalances and or even visceral reactions that you can't seem to understand and heal. QR is a great healing modality to rewire your subconscious beliefs and oftentimes inherited toxic traits, habits, patterns, themes. It's great to remove any type of tension and pain so that you can live in alignment with your energy blueprint and create a life that you absolutely love, free from drama. Now, I can't tell you how often people have asked me how I heal themes and patterns with such speed, and the answer is QR. It has become an integral part of my life because it actually works with the healing frequencies of life. So if you've been stuck in a certain theme that you've been trying to overcome, QR will expand your awareness and help you utilize your intuition so that you can make the required shifts in your reality. Furthermore, QR supports us in going through changes and motivates us to keep riding our healing momentum. So if you've been struggling with releasing old patterns, processing emotions, or if you're unable to tap into the blind spots, QR will accelerate your spiritual journey and support you with transcending ego-based perceptions. It's currently priced at 1,111 euros and it will go up to 1,497 euros the next round. So when you sign up for this round, there will be wonderful bonuses to complement your training. The link is in the show note as well. And in any case, I invite you to sign up for the newsletter so you're always the first one to know about promos, announcements, workshops, and freebies. Okay, now on to learning more about navigating the energies of Scorpio season with Patty Yoon. Enjoy! Hello and welcome, beautiful soul, to another episode that I'm recording with my dear friend, astrologer, and manifestation coach, Patty Yoon. Today, we're going to have a conversation about the eclipse in Scorpio season. Patty is going to share the most important keywords and significant dates to look out for. And towards the end, we are going to share how you can navigate these intense energies with the support of some of our awesome freebies that we have available just for you. Welcome to the show, Patty.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again, Marjorie. It's very exciting to back-to-back season focuses. These are crazy times. I feel like everyone's feeling it. These are crazy times. So this is awesome to be back here and talk about it all with you.
Oh yeah, crazy times. So how are you?
I've heard a lot of people talking about like they don't know why they feel nuts at times, and people will say like, hey, we just went through a lot of collective trauma in the last few years. Of course, you don't feel totally safe, and now we're witnessing it again. And I feel a little unsettled with it, you know, but I also know that we each have our part to play, and whether that's, you know, what feels right for you. So I'm really leaning into taking care of myself right now and sharing what I think would be the most beneficial for everyone to tune into in their own way for the next few weeks to help us, you know, glide through all of the transition that we're experiencing, all of the disruption, all of the upheaval, all of the change with eclipse season. So I feel like this is I'm happy to do my part, you know. I guess that's how I feel right now. I'm like, I'm really happy to be sharing this because I'm not sure what else to do, but I'm just really happy to do it. So yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so important, as you said, right, that we take care of our own energy and our well-being because we are still in the middle of eclipse season, right? And many of us are experiencing a big stir up right now. And I feel like we're basically being eclipsed like the shit out of old patterns and lifestyle habits and things that we've been carrying and living out for a very, very long time. And eclipse season is a big ass opportunity that brings us like this opening of portals and illuminates like entangled connections that go beyond this current lifetime, right? How do you see that?
Yes, it is definitely an opportunity and a portal. And I think the crazy thing with the word opportunity is we can think like, oh, we have to do something, right? Like we have to seize this opportunity. And I come to understand the word in a very different way, as in it's always an opportunity to grow. It's always an opportunity to shift something or change something to your benefit and to align with where you are right now in this moment. And it is an opportunity to do that. So does that mean do something? Maybe part of the doing is just observing. We just want to look at it as an opportunity to change. And sometimes change means like integrate, right? To rest into, to relax into something new, to not allow certain things into your life anymore. Not necessarily about doing anything, but just being like, no, just not right now, right? So we are recording this like almost a week before we enter Scorpio season. So who knows what's going to happen, you know, by the time this episode actually comes out, because it feels like there's a lot changing really, really fast. No matter what, we're still in eclipse season when we start Scorpio season. I think Libra to Scorpio, you know, Libra is like about rebalancing the scales, rebalancing our own equilibrium, and which we talked about so much in the last episode. And the purpose of rebalancing those scales is so that we can go really deep in Scorpio season. And so the opportunity there is for that too, right? Like that's not necessarily an action. It's more like rebalance the scale so you can go even deeper into what is true and right for you. That can look so different, right, than an action. It can look so different than what we're used to doing, especially as we're breaking all of these cycles and we're experiencing all of this stuff that's happening right now. So did I answer that question? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think so. I forgot what the question was. But anywho, it's so important to not force or control anything, because that's when we start to transmute this shit ton of energy, right? And as you said also in the last episode, when we talked about Libra season, it's more so a time to surrender and to give ourselves this downtime that we need so that we can successfully birth a new way of living life and like equip ourselves with a more expansive but also different perspective on life, on who we are, on relationships and themes, like how inner peace and balance can look like for us. And once we've established that, we can like move on to Scorpio season, right? So like now we're in the middle of eclipse season and it's still Libra, right? But yeah. It is.
On October 23rd, we will enter Scorpio season, like right in the middle of eclipse season. And then the invitation changes a little bit, right? The planets are always moving, sun's always moving. And so even with this energy of breaking cycles and patterns, we're going even deeper with this change as we approach the Taurus lunar eclipse. Yeah. I mean, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And the 28th of October is when the solar eclipse is happening, right? Like it's this energy of wrapping up things or something solidifying. So anything we've experienced in Libra season is being cemented.
So yes, on a small scale and also on a huge scale. So it's actually a lunar eclipse on the 28th, and that's the Taurus lunar eclipse. So we in Libra season had the solar eclipse on October 14th, and that one was a big one about breaking cycles and patterns, but like really moving into a new direction and into a new cycle. You almost want to think about yourself as like a Cirque du Soleil performer that spins all the plates on those things. You have a lot of different plates that are all spinning in different ways, different speeds in your life. Like your career might be one plate and your family might be another. So we just really got into a new cycle with the Libra solar eclipse. But with this Taurus lunar eclipse coming up on the 28th, we're really, really ending an old cycle that started in the beginning of 2022 and also can really wrap up even more recent things like Libra season, like you were saying. It is a kind of like a micro scale, macro scale ending. And I love to think about this kind of lunar eclipse like a cosmic flush out. Like you're being shown, okay, this is part of the old thing. This isn't for you anymore. And so I keep picturing someone just like continuously flushing the toilet button, just like boom, boom, boom. Or I picture, oh, you've gotten a facial and they've gotten all the big things out of your skin, but this is when they're really squeezing the last of the blackheads out. It's like
ew.
So you'll be shown like, oh, that old way of operating is still here in this one corner of my life. I'm seeing it now because I got rid of all the big stuff already. And now I'm doing some kind of like cleanup, but depending on how that is played out for each of us individually, this lunar eclipse can be like something big gets eclipsed out of your life, right? Like the energy's been building, or it's just maintenance and blackhead removal, right? And so
yeah, like for me personally, it's definitely the first one. Like very intense energy. And also, as you said, it's so much about, like for me, about identity and relationship dynamics. So I've been really diving deep into the relationships I have in my life, but not just with people, like with anything really, right? But also how I relate to and have been unconsciously influenced by, informed by anything tied to my ancestors, the collective, anything generational, even past lives. And that's when I also realized, dang, this is how multifaceted and multidimensional healing can be, right? And in our text messages, you said we are digging deep and drilling from all angles. And this is so true. Exploring these themes made me realize how big the picture actually is, Yeah, and we're not healing like on a surface survival triggers, level, or in a very focused and myopic way anymore, but rather we kind of build ourselves up to the capacity of being able to follow like the energetic threads and read all
Mhm.
the imprints that formed us in a much expanded, like long-sighted way. So yeah, I'm in the first group that you just mentioned.
And I think, to bring that back, like I feel like I do these YouTube updates for every new moon, full moon. I just did one for the Libra solar eclipse. And one of the things I mentioned in there was like tracing and tracking your patterns and like trying to get to the root. Of course, as you said, as we did that, which is a common, I think a common manifestation practice to be like, okay, where did this pattern come from? Why is it here? What else is related to it? You're right. The more we go and the more we get into like collective trauma, right? Me being Korean, having grandparents when Korea was occupied by Japan, and then the Korean War, and looking at how those things really can impact us genetically or whatever, we're realizing that it's not necessarily a root. It's actually this huge web of healing, right? Of interconnectedness,
Mhm.
that shared experience, and we're doing our own part in that. But when we're doing our own part in that, it can feel quite intense. And so, but yeah, that picture is definitely expanding. It's not just about me and my root. It is about like, wow, well, how is this in my mom's life? How is this in my family's life? How is this in my generation? Going back a few generations, how is this in my homeland's life? If you're from somewhere else. And so Libra season, I think we can go as, and Scorpio, we can go as deep and as crazy big as we want to go, right? Which I highly recommend if you really want to ride the cosmic current, like going deep in the direction that you want to go in. Or you can go as far as you're ready to go right now. And the cosmos will support you in that as well. It's like you begin untangling and untangling. The thread keeps leading you somewhere else. And you're like, oh my God, where are we going? What is happening right now?
Mhm.
And it is so much bigger than we thought when we go and look into these things. So it is very crazy.
Yeah, and it also reminds me of how we used to heal from a survival state. It felt very uncomfortable at times to allow ourselves to just sit still and not feeling anxious about not being productive, not hustling, or not being of use because otherwise I won't be important. But that's actually what we were just talking about when we allow ourselves to just chill the fuck out. That's actually how we counteract our inherited traumas and patterns and that we formed and the conditioning that we lived as our truth, right? Like when I look at our healing journey, we are at this stage, we can choose and allow ourselves to just rest because that's at the moment the most productive thing that we can do and allow ourselves. And even though at times it may feel counterintuitive, it's actually very intuitive and will lead to even more insights, more expansion, more downloads, more connection, and deeper understandings in all matters, especially what we are going through at the moment, ancestral and generational healing. So I'm curious to know how you started eclipse season so that we can give the listeners like a different perspective of like some of the things we're mentioning might land with someone.
Oh my, I mean, I feel like it's been real tornadoes. I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? I do think a lot of patterns came up, a lot of patterns. And like you said, we intuitive and what might seem counterintuitive thing. A lot of patterns came up. Now I feel like it's as simple as do the opposite of what you would normally do. If it's like, oh my God, I gotta do stuff, I gotta blah blah blah, then it's like do the opposite and break the pattern. See what comes up, right? And so
Mhm.
there was a lot around discovering roots of this productivity craziness, right? Of being a certain type of mom, even just flipping the script on like the victim perpetrator dynamic, right? I don't think I mentioned it on here last time, but Liz Green wrote about Saturn and how this one quote was like, if it's coming up in a big way, then it's really ready to go. And I feel like a lot of things came up in a big way. And I was like, well, it's ready to go now. It's like ready to go. So in some ways it felt very quiet, but it felt very emotionally chaotic. And a lot of things are already changing from there, I can see, which is about
Mhm.
rest and is about more time with my kid and other things. So it's hard to remember at this point.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's been a lot of relational things, and looking at how, if you even, or if I look at how interconnected we all are in this like fabric of the universe or this web, and if I just flip the script and begin showing up differently, that impacts everyone, right? Everyone in my immediate sphere of influence, but then also outside of that, right? Because then it impacts them. And we were talking about family systems too, and how even when you switch your role in the family, it automatically shifts the entire family system, which can be a really crazy thing, And so I feel like there was a lot of that inner peace and balance, yet aligning with that was creating a lot of change externally without me even doing anything, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, thank you for sharing that. And this also shows, when one person does the inner work, this ripples out and affects so many other lives and probably ignites something like a change in other people too, right? Just by being you. And I also have to say, it hasn't always been that easy for us to be able to say, okay, now I see the pattern, I'm just going to do the opposite. Because it used to be very destabilizing for us. We used to like switch to survival immediately and would find distractions in, I don't know, whatever it is that kept us busy, business, work, creating stuff.
That kept us from doing the thing that actually scared the crap out of us, right?
Yes, exactly. But I love that okay. So you're obviously in the first group as well. Because you're going through all the major changes at the moment as well.
It does feel like it's been leading up and now it's like all bursting, right? Which I guess is that like pimple popping moment. And
Ew.
Sorry. I don't mean to get gross, but I feel like this is like how it can feel, like something, the pressure has been building and it's been building up to this and it's like finally happening, right? So, okay, go ahead, Marjorie. I interrupted with a gross metaphor, but go ahead.
No, you're good. You're fine. I'm still grossed out, but it's okay. Okay, so we're still in eclipse season, and it feels like change is happening. It can happen like in a blink of an eye, right? Like one moment you're dealing with your ancestors' shit, and the next moment it's like your real life shit, and then next day it's something else entirely, right? But at the end of the day, we feel like, oh, it all fucking connects, right?
Oh, and as you were talking about ancestral stuff, I just want to share one thing about that. Before I'd be like, whatever, what the fuck ever about ancestral shit. I'm living my life right now. What do I do right now? Right? I'm very action oriented. And I will say that doing the pattern connection with me, my mom's generation, across my family, across my own generation, with my cousins, my grandparents, looking at the context. We just had, me and Marjorie sat on the WhatsApp phone call yesterday for like 2 hours, connecting the dots between generations and common themes and how they were showing up in our own lives right now. And I have to tell you, doing that actually gave me so much more strength and trust in doing the opposite, or the thing that scares me right now, right? Like, which is the opposite of what my mom's generation did and the opposite of what my grandmother's generation did. They didn't really have a choice, right? But I do now. And so if you're feeling like, well, why do I get to do this? Or why should I do this now? If you do that work and you look into like, what are these patterns in my family? It can almost give you more justification or reason to do it now in your own life, because you are breaking a longer cycle rather than just a relationship pattern in your life. You are breaking something that's gone on for multiple generations in your family, which means it's very important that you do it, right? So I just want to throw that out there. If you're like, well, why would I blah, 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 or why would I indulge in this, or why would I do this? And if you look, you might see just how important it is for you to do the thing that you're scared to do, because it may be something that has been waiting for you to break it, right? The overworking, the overfunctioning, the enabling, the whatever, like, so it can be a really helpful exercise if you want some almost like proof or validation in what you want to do. You take that step that scares you. And that's what I think eclipse season can be really fantastic for that exercise as well.
Yeah. And I also want to add that asking ourselves questions can be so helpful too, especially when it comes to exploring our ancestry, our where we came from, where certain patterns came from, or behaviors and beliefs. Questions like, where did this start? Who lived like that, or where did this pattern originate? And how has it played out in the different generations? How did this belief play out for my mother? And how did it play out for her mother? And so on and so forth. And then you do the same with your father's lineage. And then you'll find like
undeniable. Yeah. Like, it's
yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. It's like so mind blowing to be able to have those revelation moments because they're just so big. And then realizing that you're a product of all the people that came before you. So it's just logical almost that you live those patterns too. You attract the same people, the same situations, you live out the same lies. You're not like an exact replica of your mother or grandmother or great grandmother, but the pattern is the beliefs. These are replicas that you have taken on, right?
That you were programmed with from a very young age. And so the more conscious we can become of that. And I'm telling you, like, as we talk about this now in eclipse season, this is when the universe is really like, hey, we are like turning all the lights on, but we're also turning all the lights off so you can see different things, right? That's what eclipses do. Lights on, lights off, lights red, lights white, like whatever, sunlight. We almost get like a telescope or like a peek down a spiral staircase, right? And we can be like, whoa, I see now, right? And yeah, it can be incredibly empowering for you for the next step you want to take, to be like, okay, I am a product of these people, but I also have the power to change this pattern right now. A certain relationship type, or a certain work dynamic, a money dynamic. I have the power to change this now in my lifetime for the many people that came before me and the many people that will come after me, which really shows how important you are, whoever,
Yes.
everyone, you are so important. So
You
please.
are important. Yeah, and this is actually a very great segue into the Scorpio season, right? Because in Libra season slash eclipse season, we are experiencing a lot of disruption kind of thing, I feel like. But there's also lots of illumination, realizations, aha moments, things that we come to realize. So, what happens then for us in Scorpio season? What are the important keywords?
Well, I love with every Scorpio season, like I said last time, every Scorpio season is a little bit different. And this one is again, but there are always general themes that run through every Scorpio season. So those keywords would be like passion, profound, going deep into your feelings, deep into your passions. The whole point of going to the extreme or exploring your passion or emotions all the way is because the further you go, the more you change, right? Like sometimes we will hit something and we'll be like, oh, I don't want to go past that, right? But Scorpio's like, no, fuck that, keep going, because there's an energy building. You are tuning into your ability to change. Yeah, it's a power. It's a power we all have, a power to transform. And so, yes, there can be like hidden desires and secrets because you're just like really going and digging your own tunnel into some crazy stuff that you're into. This is where, of course, intimacy comes in too, like having the conversations that are like real and raw, because it's like this is not being addressed, And so it's very probing. And that's why I think the rebalancing of your scales in Libra season was to set the groundwork for going deep into the things that you want to go into, your relationship, your interests, your passions, your sexuality, your money. You're like really just kind of like dedicating yourself to those things and to your emotions at this time and allowing yourself to be changed in the process. So those are like, that's like the keyword. You change and then you come out and you're like, whoa, everything looks different. And so that's the whole thing with Scorpio. I think we talked about this a little bit. Shadow work, right? Probing, going deeper, looking at the things that scare you, facing your fears, exploring the depths, right? Following your magnetic attractions, the things you feel drawn to all the way through, letting it change you. Go
So
ahead.
in a way, I feel like it's a very courageous energy. Like our courageous part is being asked to step out and to take center stage, right?
That's really interesting that you use the word courage because Scorpio is affiliated or is ruled by Mars, and the other sign is Aries. And Aries is like in your face, like, ah, like courage and
Hmm.
brave. Scorpio is a very different kind of courage, right? It's like getting intense courage or like going into the emotionally scary bits and pieces and where we're afraid to be vulnerable. So Aries can
Hmm.
have this like real like bravado courage. Scorpio can be incredibly secretive, probing, revealing, but going into the scary parts kind of courage. So it's like very strategic in a way. It might not look like it on the outside, but you are very courageous for doing what you're doing if it scares you on the inside kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I tune into that energy, it makes me want to dance, like move my body like to the left and right, like kind of like finding my flow as
Hmm.
I'm going through this intensity, this intense emotions, the shadows, and whatever the themes are, and being like real and raw and vulnerable with myself and other people. But also, you mentioned tuning into the energy of change. And this reminds me of what we just talked about. Change for us was so not normal, right? It was very difficult for us to adapt to change, especially me, I'm Taurus. But now, having done so much healing around our themes, we said that change can also feel very simple, right? Like
Oh man.
just opening the door, placing your one foot outside of the door, and that's it. You just keep going. And we used to think, no, no, I can't because this feels difficult. And we would find so many excuses why we wouldn't go through that door.
Hmm.
And now I feel like now we are kind of moving towards change again. Do you feel like there is also this door that opens up and we are being asked to meet this door openly and be courageous so we can step out in a
Yes.
very real and raw way?
I mean, yes. And I think that also, real and raw, your definition of that can change hour to hour, right? Day by day. But in that moment, if it feels like that, that is a very courageous thing to do. And I remember in this one exercise, I took a class by Martha Beck, and she actually was like, just go up to the door. It's shut. You don't even have to go through it. You don't have to open it. Just sit next to the door because people are so terrified of change and what it can mean on the other side. So she just had people like visualize the door, sit next to it, and get calm in their body because change can be such a destabilizing and like crazy thing. And
Yeah.
so, if that's all the courage you have in this moment and that feels raw and real, by all means, that's like where you go with it. Her exercise is great because you are calming yourself at that threshold, right? And then you calm yourself at the next footstep, or like
Hmm.
turning the doorknob. Be like, ah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think Scorpio can be so amazing because we don't have to like rip the door open and rip the band-aid off, but we can see when we're afraid to do that and just sit there and explore that, right? And explore like what are all the feelings that come up? Why am I so afraid? What am I afraid of? What's unfamiliar on the other side of this that I'm afraid of knowing and seeing? It always makes me think of that death card in the Medicine Woman tarot deck because death is about change, right? And a lot of times she writes in there, fear of death is fear that your good will not come. So we have this association with change and transformation as that means I'm fucked. I'm not going to get what I want, right? Or everything's falling apart. But her description of the card is so beautiful because it's just an opportunity to like renew, and
Hmm.
align with what you do want. And so that might be really helpful if you are finding yourself on the threshold or at the doorway of something that you're like, I don't know if I want to fucking look right now, but it is an opportunity to renew and align with what you want. And I think that's where Scorpio energy can be really powerful. Change doesn't have to be, I'm fucked. Change can be really wonderful, right? But the other line in that death card is, I let go and I'm free. And
Hmm.
that one always resonates with me.
Yeah, this is so beautiful because Scorpio season is about the ability to change, right? It's not about like doing or taking actions to change, but the ability to allow yourself, okay, I'm going to take this one step, maybe just sit next to the door and get comfortable with that. Then you mastered that ability, right? And then you go and grab the doorknob and turn it. That's the next ability to change something. Then you sit with the doorknob until you feel, okay, I feel safe in my body. Let's maybe take a peek.
And noticing like what emotions are coming up right now as I do each step of this. Well, why? What is that? What secrets have I been hiding from myself? Like that feels so Scorpio as well.
Yeah. And it's also a very beautiful opportunity to get to know yourself a little bit better on a much deeper level. So, what are the dates to watch out for, Patty?
Okay, so we've just talked about all the Scorpio stuff, and the key date, I think the biggest one by far is October 28th, which is a Taurus lunar eclipse. And so we talked about how this is a final wrap up, the flushing out of things that began in January of 2022, but also maybe even in Libra season, right? Lunar eclipses are when, I think Christopher Renstrom said this, when whatever's on shaky ground will go, right? There's some sort of cosmic, divine, destined quality to like, the things that are ready to leave are going to leave, even if you want to hang on to them and this is not to scare anybody, because it's making space, like very powerful space for something.
But it's still going to happen, ready or not.
And I think this is why we just let go, right? We see what is ready to go. So that's a big one for October. We want to notice, we want to align with that. And I really want to point out that the Taurus Scorpio thing is very related, right? That's why it's a full moon in Taurus, because they are opposite signs, which goes back to this cycle that's been going on for everyone since January of 2022. Wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, because everybody has Scorpio, is where you've gone through a massive purging situation since 2022. And it can be in the most non-linear way, right? Like mine was around communication and home and family, right? And there were a lot of things that were ready to be transformed and recycled. And this Scorpio energy that we're tuning into and this purging quality, again, we may have felt the energy building up to whatever's happening now, but I also really want to be like, dude, you've already been going through this since early 2022. You've already been recycling and like going into the depths and going out of the familiar and into the fear since that point. So the October 28th Taurus lunar eclipse is just really sealing the deal, right? It's like, yeah.
So it's also like a opportunity for new beginnings, right?
Yes. Full moons and lunar eclipses, it clears things out. It creates endings, which naturally create new beginnings, for sure. And I think what's really remarkable about this is the new beginnings that come after this flush out. There's so many ways that a lot of us can be like, damn, if I look in this container with these themes, I've done a lot. I've changed a lot, And so those new beginnings feel so, it's like you almost think of someone who's gone through something really fucking crazy, but they still have so much optimism because they've already gone through the crazy. I feel like we're all tuning into that on some level of like, I just went through a lot and I'm actually so hopeful for the future because now I see how strong and resilient I am. That's what this lunar eclipse feels like for me.
Ooh, oh my God, that's exciting. Where's my Scorpio actually?
Relationships.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Of course, we just talked about it.
So that's where it feels really like, you know what I'm saying? Like this, like, oh wow, I have grown in so many ways I didn't even know I could do, right? And that's what feels like we're really coming to understand on such a deep level with all this very deep, profound Scorpio energy.
Oh, wow. Just landed because just at the beginning of the episode, I was talking, right, about like relationships, identity, blah, blah, blah. Now you're telling me, oh, and your Scorpios in relationships. Like, oh.
I think one thing to really pay attention to, because we've noticed this a lot, it's not just doing anything that scares you. It's like really looking at like, what's the thing that scares the fucking shit out of me? There's your next thing, right? For Scorpio season. Although it may not, the universe may have different plans than we do, which we've obviously come to realize in our own journeys, but look at the things that really scare you. They're not there to scare you and punish you. They're there to be like, this is where there's so much power for you to tap into for yourself,
Yeah, and also opportunity to change.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay, so what's the next date?
Then that really kicks it off. Now we have a few things, the period between the lunar eclipse and then the Scorpio new moon is interesting because it feels like there's a changing of the guard. Saturn stations direct, Venus enters Libra, Mercury enters Sagittarius. So it's like these sort of planetary changes. So between November 4th and 10th, it feels like the terrain is changing, which is wonderful because then right before the Scorpio new moon, we end eclipse season. So we're kind of in this like very transitioning phase after the lunar eclipse for 2 weeks. And then on the 13th of November, we have the Scorpio new moon. And I tell you, when I looked at this new moon, I was like, woo! This is like such a powerful moment to be like, damn, after eclipse season, after all this change, after all this upheaval, and there's a lot of Neptune, a lot of Uranus in this, which is all about change, all about disruption, breaking away from the past, like doing things your own way. And this is the first Scorpio new moon in, I guess, a year and a half, almost 2 years, where we don't have the nodes of fate in there. It's not eclipses in that sign. So it really feels like this very powerful new beginning. So you're right. The Taurus lunar eclipse will really lead us into new beginnings because right after that, we have the Scorpio new moon. So for the beginning of Scorpio season up until the new moon on the 13th, just flush it out, notice where those blackheads are popping up, right? Like where you want to shift things, where you're seeing where the pattern is still present in a different part of your life, where you might be afraid to go, right? But you want to go. And then the new moon, it feels like even more grounding into, okay, like I've learned so much. I mean, it feels like a really powerful new moon to tune into, to initiate something after so much learned. That's what it really feels like.
And in those 2 weeks, like after the eclipse, this transitional phase, do you recommend doing some healings and emotional release sessions and I don't know what,
Yes, cry your brains out, please. Like feel all of the feelings. Depending on what sign season we're in, we tune into different planetary energies. And there's a lot of Neptune and Saturn in Pisces during this time period. Pisces is all about flow, creativity, spirit, surrender, emotions. But Neptune is like surrender to it, and Saturn is like align with it. And so it's 2 different ways of kind of showing up for flow and creativity and spirit and emotions and dreams. And so they're kind of like, let yourself flow with it, but then also be kind of disciplined about it in your own way, like structure it in your own way, follow through in your own way. And so I think it would be a great time in that 2-week period to tune into Saturn and Neptune in Pisces and be like a deep surrender to flow and what is, emotions, but then also authenticity in whatever you're doing, like tangible spirituality even. Like how do you make it real for yourself? And so those 2 feel like wonderful ways to really utilize that all of Scorpio season, but especially that transitory feeling between the lunar eclipse and the new moon.
Yeah, so this is a great place to mention our freebies, actually, because I feel like they are not only guides that can help us navigate all the energies, but also keep track of our progress, what we are releasing, what we are working through. Yeah, shall we quickly talk about the freebies? Okay. Yeah, because I feel like it's very fitting right now since we're talking about healing and how we can do it, which energies and planets influence our emotional world, our energy. So then I'm gonna start first.
Please go, Marjorie.
Yeah, so my freebie, it's a free quantum healing meditation, and it's all about transmuting old energies, transcending your ego, doing some shadow work as you meditate, and releasing all the shit that doesn't serve you anymore and replacing it with like newness, new energy.
But you said it's a guided meditation, right?
It is, yeah, it is a
Okay.
guided
Okay,
meditation.
awesome.
Yeah, there is so much in there in this meditation alone. I feel like this could be like a whole paid 1.5 hour healing session, you know? But I'll try like to keep it like really, really short, as short as possible, but also it's very focused. So it's a really great opportunity that you can utilize during this transitory slash transitional 2 weeks period where we can like really, really dive deeper into what we've been experiencing and changing things up and releasing stuff and like shifting out of the old, like including parts of you that are like so deeply entangled with all the past versions of you, all your ancestors, like everything that we just talked about. And this meditation will also help you clear out old patterns and habits that have been blocking you from accessing your true self, your authenticity, your potential and creativity, your soul gifts and intuition. So, yes.
I mean, and I feel like, you know, Marjorie and I really talked together about what can we offer that would really support each other but stand on their own. And with Marjorie's meditation, I feel like this would be such an awesome one to tune into. You know, I like a routine. So I'm like, I want to tune into it every day, you know, during Scorpio season, just to really align with the current and the cosmic current, but also just whenever you need to, right? And so that actually goes into my freebie, which is a calendar, like an astro calendar of, I mentioned a few days, but there's obviously a lot of planetary activity through the month. And the calendar I'm going to offer will have all the important dates with really simple keywords. So you know what to expect, what to look out for. And I think especially when you see one that's coming up and you're noticing it really showing up, then Marjorie's meditation would be such an awesome way to just get inward, do some reflection, and really tune into whatever's showing up that day. So we wanted to create this cerebral slash integration, you know,
symbiosis.
Yeah. A combination of tools that you can use throughout Scorpio season. So yeah, mine's going to be a fun astro calendar so you can keep, well, I don't know if fun is the right word for Scorpio, but a cool astro calendar that you can use and just be like, okay, what day is it? What's showing up today? Why do I feel like this? What's the invitation here? It'll all be really simple keywords so you can keep track of what's going on and how you're flowing with what's happening.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. I can't wait to see that calendar. But in any case, both of our freebies, I will link them in the show notes so you can download them there. And yeah, let's keep going. Any other significant dates that we need to like keep in the back of our heads?
Yeah, I mean, right after the Scorpio new moon, I'd say the only other major thing to keep an eye out for is the 17th and 18th of the month in November. There's a lot of Neptune and Mars at the time, which can be a really beautiful continuation of new moon energy, you know, like taking it a step further. But I also want to, you know, and this will be in the keywords, Neptune and Mars together can feel like very like, oh my God, you know, I'm a warrior on the path to peace. And like, oh my God, I have so much energy to devote to this thing that has so much meaning. Or it can really show up as like, I am fucking tired and I don't feel connected. There's a lot spiritually at that time that is inviting us to like move forward in ways that have meaning for us. And it just feels like a really lovely continuation of new moon energy. So I want to say like, it can feel really disorienting, right? But also change is disorienting. We always find our way afterwards. And so it almost feels like another baptism, you know? Like I feel like I said that a lot during Pisces season, but Neptune and Mars together can feel like that as well. So just notice. This goes into our mantra, actually.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was the next thing I wanted to ask you. Like, what would the mantra be? Because I feel like when we talked about Libra season, the mantra was, I establish balance in my own unique way. So, what do you feel like would the mantra be for Scorpio season?
I think one of the beautiful and simplest ways to tune in would be my desires and my emotions are a safe compass for me to follow.
Ooh. I love that. And this is so great because desires encompasses passions as well. And I love that you use the word compass because it's showing you the way, but it's not like a fixed and focused kind of way, but can go in all directions. So having this mantra in your mind, when you listen to your desires and follow your emotions, probably your intuition too, then that will be your compass throughout the whole Scorpio season. And yeah, that's really cool. Again, let's see it again. My desires and emotions are a safe compass for me to follow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, Scorpio, the Mars energy and the Mars energy being so much about the path of desire. My desires are leading me somewhere very important. But then also the intense connection to emotions, right? Or intense emotional connection to the things that you love or feel very passionately about. That is also very leading with your own version of Scorpio energy. And I think you're right. It leaves a lot of room for flow, our own flow, whether it's with the disruptive Scorpio new moon or if it's with the warrior of peace energy of Neptune and Mars, right? We can still always tune into that in every decision we're making, every fork in the road that we come to, every conversation we need to have. It feels very simple and a simple way for us to align with that.
Yes. Having a mantra throughout the season is like this little reminder. And as I said before, right before we started recording, like a mantra can be like your friend that reminds you on a daily basis, well, this is the theme. And this is like remind yourself to stay aligned or to get back into alignment.
Oh my gosh. Dude, no joke. I used to laugh at people about affirmations. I'd be like,
I know,
okay,
right?
whatever. And now I'm like, dude, they have like really, they have helped me make very, very different and important decisions in very critical moments in my life. And they are there for a reason and people love them for a reason. So if you want to write it in permanent marker on your hand for Scorpio season, please do. It can really help in those moments where you're not sure what to do. And that's why they're there. So yeah, that's the thing for a Scorpio season. And then on the 22nd of November, we enter Sagittarius season, which always, I feel like I want to say get intense for Scorpio season because once we get to Sagittarius season, it's such a different vibe. It's like you're coming out of the depths of the ocean, the whirlpool stops sucking you in, you like rise up like an arrow, like a fiery arrow into the sky. And you're like, I see so much more, And so I just want to say that to be like, it's not going to be intense forever. And we are in eclipse season. It's not going to be so emotional forever, And so really ride that cosmic current this month and it will give you even more expansion in Sagittarius season.
Yeah, because it's all happening for us, right? Well, I know we're all affected by the energies, but are there any signs which will be like more affected than others?
Yes, Libra season, I'd say the signs that were the most affected were the cardinals, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn are going to be impacted by this eclipse cycle that we're in through the rest of 2024. Now, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius were very impacted over the last year and 3/4 since the beginning of 2022. And this Taurus lunar eclipse, that's why some people are like at different points in these cycles, right? Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius are really coming to a big wrap up with this lunar eclipse as well. So so it's kind of like we're doing another changing of the guards, right? The cardinals, the Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorns are like really coming up for a lot of change, whereas the Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius just went through a lot. But obviously, like you have planets in Aries and in Taurus and in Scorpio.
And Capricorn.
Yeah, so it's like we want to think about it like it's easy to break it down by sun sign it that way, but I also want you to be aware that these cycles are happening in different parts of your life at the same time as well. Like for a while, it might be like my work is really the focus and a lot of change. And then it'll be like the handing off of the baton to now my health or my family or my kids or whatever. But yeah, I think if you want to keep it really simple, you can stick to the sun signs that I talked about. But if you want to go dive in a little bit deeper, then you have a lot of cycles going on in your chart right now. That's my simple answer.
Yeah, thank you. Because I feel like without knowing any specifics about the astrology, I feel like I'm intuitively experiencing all that we've talked about anyways. It's just like in hindsight, when we talk about it, it's like, oh, it's because I have Capricorn here, I have Aries there, I have Taurus here, and Scorpio there, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, breakthrough moment.
Yeah. And I think it's really beautiful when you start to unpack your chart like that, because then you are seeing the ways where the universe is inviting you to focus, right? Instead of like us trying to swim upstream, we are then again entering that current by being like, oh, this is where I have Taurus. Oh, this is where I have Scorpio. Okay, this is where a lot of endings or changes are taking place. And this is where a lot of new beginnings are taking place. And then we can really align with that in such a beautiful way, I think. So yeah, you can go as simple as sun signs, or you can go as deep as we just talked about here right now with Marjorie.
I know. I'll just ask you.
And I mean, that's what ultimately my membership is for, is to be like, you don't have to go learn, like, you don't have to do what I did and go learn astrology like a fucking maniac for years. I like, that's why I wanted to start the membership, because it doesn't have to be that complicated. You can just go in there, tell me your rising sign, and you'll begin to be able to be like, oh, this is where the energy is showing up for me. This is what I want to show up for. This is what I want here. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but that's why I wanted to really simplify astrology and be like, you can really do the magic on your own if you have the right tools, right?
Yeah, and this is what I really appreciate about you, because you make astrology so accessible. The way you explain things, the way you understand astrology in your very own unique way is something that resonates with me a lot. Like, it's so much easier for me to understand, because it's not like, all the jargon words that I don't understand, but you're like, no, it's this and that and blah, 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 blah. It's that easy. You don't have to use a lot of words in order to understand. Also, you don't have to understand everything, right? But yeah, my point is, I love that you like simplified the language of astrology. And yeah, it's so accessible. Thank you for this beautiful, amazing, awesome work.
Oh my gosh. If it is not making your life better, then what is the fucking point, right? And I feel like I'm very into the esoteric stuff, but we got to make it real life,
Yes.
That's the only way to bring the magic into the real life. And when you do, then you see the magic everywhere. And it's like,
yes,
you don't need to go and get a divinity degree. You can just look at the chart day by day and begin to really embody and witness and like see and experience the support of the universe. It doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yes.
I mean, it is a little bit, but I'll help you with that.
Exactly. Especially like with realizing, okay, those are your energies, and some of them you've already, like aspects of your energies you have accessed before, but some you haven't. And that's what I found so helpful, like talking to you about, because you hold a mirror, for me, and it's helping me see the energies that are actually like hidden to me or not in my awareness. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So yeah. Is there anything else that we need to mention or that we have to like want to talk about?
No, I think that's it. Probably just the same, at least until the Scorpio new moon. Like, just rest if you need to, integrate, try the opposite to break a pattern and
apply our freebies.
Yeah, and know that you are important enough to do any change that you desire to do in your life. You are so important, and your work in doing that is so important.
Yes. Thank you so much, Patty, for this awesome conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Oh my God. I'll put all the links in the show notes. Would you tell our listeners very quickly where they can find you?
Oh man. Well, my site, pattyunastrology.com, and all my offerings are on there. And I've been really bad about Instagram and social media, but I have been posting my free workbooks and videos on YouTube, and I've been really enjoying those. They come out every new moon, full moon, eclipse, like I said before.
What's your YouTube handle?
Oh, Patty Unastrology. I was like, wait a minute, what is it? I'm so new to it, and it still surprises me at times to be like, yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You know, I never thought, but it's just kind of worked out that way. And so, yeah.
Click the bell button.
Rate, review, subscribe. And then my newsletter is probably one of the easiest ways to just stay on top of everything that I'm doing and what's going on, which you can find on my website. So yeah, like Marjorie said, all of those links, or the most important ones, will be in the show notes. And I'm just doing my thing, trying to get you connected to your chart and your magic, man. That's it.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. I will put all the links in the show notes. Also tune in to the free meditation that's free for you to listen to. And oh my God, you guys, Patty and I just have like an episode. We just can't stop laughing. We're cracking our asses up here. So yeah, we're just wrapping. Let's just wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any takeaways, please share them with us. Also, use the mantra. Let us know how that works for you. I'm going to repeat it again. It's my desires and emotions are a safe compass for me to follow. Yes. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm sending you so much love and happy vibes. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.